Paul, the reason I love Kate Nelson so much is because this girl is so passionate about not using single-use plastics. She will literally walk into a supermarket with her own jars and refuses to use plastic bags, plastic containers, plastic anything. And I think you even walk out of shops if they don't allow you to use your own sources.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What? How is that possible? If I had to use glass jars for my shopping, and sometimes I'm doing like $400-500 at Costco in LA, I would need like a forklift to get that stuff home.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, I actually get a lot of stuff delivered to my home as well. So in the large paper bags, and then I store them in garbage cans and then fill up jars in my pantry.
Do friends get freaked out when they come over and see you serving them food out of the trash?
They're excited. They're like, how do you live? But they get scared when I stay with them and they hide all the plastics. So like, don't open that cupboard.
So even when they deliver it though,
Yep.
doesn't some of it come in plastic?
So sometimes, but I send those bags, like it's usually that woven plastic, and I send those bags back to them and they reuse them.
What about the food packaging? Like plastic is in everything.
It is.
Like I get Amazon deliveries and it's like huge amounts of plastic bubble things that you don't need. Everything is wrapped in plastic and then sometimes that's wrapped in plastic. Like how is it even achievable to avoid it entirely?
Well, that's the point, right? It's so ubiquitous. It's so hard to avoid for the average person. So that's why I decided to take a strong stand against it and just see if it was possible and then share my lifestyle as I've achieved plastic-free living.
What's some of the craziest things you've done to avoid using plastic at all costs? And I know you've done some pretty out there things.
I mean, there's so many examples on a daily basis. Like it's just a constant, hilarious adventure out there trying to avoid plastics. I mean, like you said, just like walking out, not being able to buy stuff, not being able to have a coffee, not being able to get food out in the world, and just being that person that abstains and is like, I'm actually good for this meal. I'm not going to get this because it's in plastic, which is so ubiquitous. If there's an opportunity to avoid it, absolutely I will. Some of the weirdest stuff. I mean, like I often take my groceries out of the store, like in my sweater, like in my shirt as like a little marsupial pouch.
I try and do that too. You know, when you go to the shop and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to get one item and you walk out with 12 and I'm the person doing the balancing act, refusing to use plastic bags. I hate plastic bags.
So Kate has just given me a great business idea.
Oh, really?
The pouch sweater.
The plastic pouch sweater.
Yeah, well, the anything pouch sweater. So you don't have to like wrap it up. You just have like a little maybe Velcro pouch or like a little fast-it clip pouch in your sweater.
You could put a baby in there.
You can put anything in there.
You put Otis, your
jelly
dog.
beans. Otis is 90 pounds. He's not going to fit in it. I can barely lift him up.
I think he'd make it work though.
Oh, I like it. I'm going to look further into this. So you don't have to use plastic bags. You can just put all your food in your little pouch, carry it around.
Yeah.
You know, put it on the thing to. Yeah.
And then you drop it, and then you drop it all over the floor like I do, and people look at you and just...
You must have done that a lot, Catherine.
No, I've gotten really good at balancing, but I do love the pouch idea. I hope you do this. I look forward to it. It's going to look attractive as well.
Yeah, and you could have like matching pouch pants. You have little pouches on the side of your pants, like a little bum pouch, give you some booty, maybe a couple of separate pouches, just in case, I don't like some of my food touching. And so... Like I don't like tomatoes.
But you're vegan.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like all vegetables. Just because I like some of them, like eggplant.
Yeah.
Nope, not going there.
I'd love you to tell everyone why you dislike plastic so much. I mean, we know plastic sucks, but give the audience a little bit of a background on why plastic is really, really bad.
Okay, so basically plastic doesn't biodegrade. So we have vegetables, eggplants, even they break down in a matter of weeks in the environment, whereas plastic does not. It takes about 1,000 years to break down back into the environment, the earth. So I learned about this like 11 years ago when I just felt like, oh my gosh, of all the things impacting this planet, plastic does not biodegrade. I can just quit using it. Since then, I've learned that not only does it not biodegrade, but it actually breaks up. So it doesn't break down, but it breaks up into tiny millions of pieces that are irretrievable from the environment. So it's in our water, it's in our soil, it's in our food, it's in fish if people eat fish, it's in all these different places, and then we ingest it and it gets in our bodies. And you know, everything we use, so much plastic is single use. We're not recycling most of the plastic out there. So it's all this plastic that's ever been made is still in existence. And plastic is actually toxic to human health. So not only is it polluting our beaches, our oceans, the environment in general, but it's also polluting our bodies in a really hectic way that's made me such an advocate for this cause.
Paul, I read recently that we ingest a credit card's worth of plastic every week.
But doesn't it just pass through? Don't we just poop it out?
What happens when we ingest plastic?
So because it's microscopic, it actually gets into our body and we absorb the toxicity and adsorb it. So it acts like estrogen in our body. So
That's not good for me.
it's not good for anyone.
You're already half robot, so you only ingest half plastic.
But I'm kind of made of plastic.
Well, you're screwed.
Oh, man. So is it able to break down and pass that gut line barrier into the blood system?
Correct. And then when it's in the blood system, we have way more hormone receptors around our body for sex hormones than we do for, say, like hunger. And so estrogen traveling, this like estrogenic or this estrogen mimicking chemical from plastics is traveling through our blood, triggering those receptors over and over and over, telling our body, kind of like you're pregnant. It's this sex hormone, so it creates growth. It creates growth.
That's what's wrong with you.
That explains my non-six-pack.
That's why you've been so emotional lately. You're pregnant.
Me, I'm never emotional. It's just, it's sensitive. That's really, I didn't know that. That's kind of terrifying.
Wait, but I'm not done.
Oh, no. All of a sudden I'm pregnant because of plastic.
And you're half plastic.
And I'm half plastic already. Oh,
and your
God.
penis is shrinking.
Who told you? I mean,
Oh
I suspected, but...
Can we not talk about Paul's penis?
Sorry, all males, like the sperm count is going down, genitals are shrinking, male genitals are shrinking.
What?
Yeah.
What? Who is taking this survey?
So there's a lot of research out there. This is why it's crazy that this doesn't get more airtime. Like, it's shocking that plastic is still so ubiquitous and in so many people's hands when we know it's causing infertility. I mean, it's estrogenic. It's a sex hormone, so it's disrupting our endocrine systems. It's disrupting our reproductive systems. How is it disrupting them? It's leading to infertility. It's leading to shorter anogenital distance in males, which correlates to low sperm count, which correlates to shrinking genitals. And this has been happening since plastic.
So the next generation of men are going to have wee little wee-wees. Yes.
And I just remembered something. Weren't you looking at some dildos on Kate's?
Well, look, I didn't know if it was a dildo. I was looking at all your stuff on your LinkedIn, and you had a little thingamy bob. It was on your crystals thing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and it looked like a purple tentacle dildo.
Because you have a few sex toys.
Yeah, I've done a number of collaborations, and one of them is on crystal dildos.
Let's talk about that.
No. I'm happy to talk about purple tentacle dildos eventually, but we just touched on the fact that my penis is shrinking and my baby divers are diving.
But
I need my baby divers to swim, Julia. That's their purpose. What is happening to my baby divers?
So your baby divers are what they're at. So they're not going to be shrinking anymore over your lifespan. It's the fetus. It's when you're in utero when you're most susceptible to all of these impacts.
But I don't have a uterus.
Yeah, well, you don't have a pouch yet, but you're working on it.
so you're going to have a uterus.
I'm going to be pregnant with retarded baby divers and a small penis. And what? This day got worse. Catherine, you have to leave. I don't want to. I'd rather live in ignorant bliss.
Well, that's the problem. Most people would. That's why this doesn't get attention.
Okay, whoa, hold up, guys. Hold up. How long does it take for this to happen?
Yeah, okay. So we don't know. That's where scientists are frantically researching because it is so hectic and we are so easily impacted by phthalates and bisphenols. Like, there's so much science.
Can you explain what big words?
Yeah. Okay.
Big words.
We've had a lot of big words on this show, and I haven't been able to interject because Paul's like, "Oh yeah, blah blah, big words," and I'm like,
Phthalates.
Yeah, nailing it.
So can we just pick that back up, and can you please explain these big words?
For sure. Okay, so plastic behaves in two ways. It degrades into these tiny little flakes. Like I mentioned, it doesn't break down. It breaks up into microscopic little bits. Those are the physical bits that settle in our water that we ingest. They float in the air and we breathe them in. Like they're getting into our body. And then plastic also leaches chemicals. So it leaches in three instances: heat, fat, and durability. So heat. So if you have like a hot beverage in a plastic cup, the plastic from that cup is going to leach into the beverage. You drink it, you've got it in your body.
That makes so much sense.
Fat. If you have a plastic container that's holding something greasy, the plastic is lipophilic. It's attracted to the fat. It's attracted to the grease, so it's going to move. Even like face creams or different things that are in plastic, these body butters and all these things that are like anti-aging, whatever, the plastic toxicity is leaching in there and reversing all of that anti-aging effects. Okay, so heat, fat, and duration. If something's been sitting on the shelf for ages in plastic, the toxins are leaching into that. So these are how the toxins get into the thing. Then we eat it or put it on our skin, whatever, then it gets into our body. The different kinds of plastics that we have to be aware or concerned about or really have to avoid. Phthalates. So these are like chemicals that are added to main ingredient plastics to give them all sorts of different characteristics. So give something hardness or
Fluffiness,
or like transparency or durability or malleability, all these different characteristics that
That's
we love
all
plastic
plastics.
for. Phthalates, yeah.
Phthalates.
Phthalates are added to plastics to give them all these characteristics. Yeah.
I saw that word before. PHTH.
No, you were trying to pronounce it.
You got
Phthalates.
You're a phthalate.
Is it phthalate? Phthalate. Phthalates.
They sound terrifying.
Yeah.
Phthalates.
So that's one group, and the other group.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
There's more.
Yeah, that's right. Might have to go for champagne breakfast after this as well to just.
I don't want to eat plastic anymore.
No, I know, but that's champagne comes in glass, so.
But isn't glass okay?
Safe. Glass is fine.
Oh, good. Something's okay today.
Glass is safe.
But we are going to the second unsafe
Correct.
thing.
Thank you. Bisphenols. So
what?
Bisphenols.
Bisphenols. What are they?
So this is a main ingredient plastic.
I don't like fennel.
Oh, I love fennel, but I
don't
hate
like it.
bisphenol.
What's the difference between fennel and bisphenol?
Okay. Fennel is a delicious vegetable.
Okay.
Bisphenol is a toxic plastic, which
Well, don't want to
reduces your
mix them up on the supermarket shelf, do you?
It's pretty easy.
Do you want to
tell
get
the
healthy
difference.
vegetarian food, or do you want to die and be pregnant and have baby divers just eradicated from your shrinking testicles?
Thank you. I would like that soundbite, please. That is exactly right.
This is horrific, Julia. What have you done to me?
Wait.
What have I done to you? I didn't give you ovaries and your baby divers.
No, but you brought someone here that's telling me I'm getting them.
I brought someone here who's telling you and the majority of the population that we really need to avoid plastics.
The truth is a hard pill to swallow. I'm ready.
right.
I'm ready. All
Is
right,
it plastic? Where are you finding this information from? Is there a certain researcher who's dedicated to this, specialist, university, papers?
Mm-hmm.
These are really significant statements. And yeah, I would love to know who's talking this dirt.
Yeah, who's backing this up?
It's dirty.
It's very dirty. I'm not impressed. How did it get this far?
Sperm count among Western men has halved in the last 40 years.
Yeah, but why?
And it's going to be, by 2045, we'll have a median sperm count of 0
Hang on.
if we're continuing at this trajectory.
Who's saying this?
So there's a lot of researchers working on this. There's a great resource, if you're interested, is the Plastic Health Summit. That's a conference that meets every year to fund and also present this research. Dr. Shauna Swan was recently on Joe Rogan podcast, so she has been sharing a lot of her research as well. She's done a lot of the anogenital distance measuring, which indicates the low sperm count.
All right, don't worry, guys. I'm going to get all of this information and put it in the show notes so you can look it up. We can be protected. I got you.
I did read that Shana Swan, she is one of the original authors of the contentious 2017 article. Is that the one you're talking about?
There's so much science. Like there's so many research. I've interviewed so many of these scientists that are working on a lot of different studies. So she has her own science that she backs.
And she did write a book called Countdown, saying we are likely to be completely infertile by 2048.
There's a lot going on in 2048. Oceans are going to be able to fish. We're going to be totally infertile. Like, is this solid science?
Okay, so this is a projection. So it's based on it's an estimate based on current science and research since that's dating back decades. Since they started studying studying rats and then being able to change these studies and study humans, like pregnant women's urine or measuring the anogenital distance in men and then taking sperm samples. So it's projections based on the past like 2 or 3 decades worth of research since they started being like, why are we having problems with fertility? What are we seeing in children mostly? Because it's really fetuses and pregnant women and children who are most susceptible because their cells are multiplying and they're still growing. So they're most susceptible to all of these toxins. So they're starting to see these in youth and young people, and they're like, what is the cause? But there's so many pollutants that we're exposed to. It was difficult to kind of narrow it down and figure out which ones. And there's so many estrogenics too. Like we're exposed to so many of these estrogen mimicking toxins on a daily basis. Red food dye, some molds, soy, like there's phytoestrogens, naturally occurring estrogens that aren't as dangerous, but these plastic toxins we now know are, and we're seeing them mostly. The most concerning is the fertility stuff, but we see it's growth. So it's like heart disease, cancers, it's even ADHD. It's a huge reason for obesity. So it's a concern for so many reasons. But when we minimize our exposure to these plastics, we minimize our risk. Aren't
we doing better now though? Like. You go out now and you do see paper cups for your coffee. There's paper straws. There's a lot of things in jars. There's paper recyclable food containers. Are we doing better? Are we on the right track?
In all honesty, it's just not enough.
No. The plastics industry is tripling production in the next...
Globally?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because the plastics industries are global. They're multinational corporations. They are not from one country. They are like so dominant, and they have been producing. I think it's like 8.3 billion tons of plastic has been produced since the 1950s, and they produce so much that, and it's a fossil fuel. It's coming from oil, and because of all the attention on oil and the climate crisis, they're trying to figure out where else can they put this material to like continue the dollars coming in before all the eyes go onto plastic as well.
Aren't they aware of this? Do they know that they're creating something that's going to destroy the human race?
Well, how many tons of plastic enter our oceans every year? Because I've swam in a lot of it.
A garbage truck of plastic goes into the ocean every minute.
I know that the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is mostly made up of plastics, and a lot of that is from plastic fishing nets, and that's just breaking down into the ocean, polluting everything, and the tidal currents that flow around the planet just carry it everywhere.
Catherine, you've travelled... I feel so weird calling you Catherine.
I know, it's silly.
Can I just call you Kate?
Yeah, of course.
Kate, you have travelled all over the world. You've done a lot of research. Can you tell us your most vivid memory of seeing plastics?
Yeah, it's actually when I went to the Great Pacific Trash Gyre.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah, 11 years ago. When I first learned about plastic, I was like, I have to get out there. Because I met Captain Charlie Moore, who discovered the trash gyre, and interviewed him for a college project, and was just fascinated. So I went out there and I got a plastic sample, I should have brought it, of the water column to see what actually is floating out there. Because you go out there and it's not like a plastic trash island, like originally.
That's what I thought it was
expected.
going to be, but
Yeah.
and I never saw a picture of it.
Yeah, it's like a soup. So there's another amazing organization to follow, Plastic Soup Foundation, who puts on the Plastic Health Summit. And it's basically like, okay, the plastic, like you said, it breaks up into these little bits, and it's impossible to clean up those little bits. And even all that fishing gear out there, that's the durable stuff. That's the stuff that's meant to last in the ocean. So it's been out there for decades. Yeah, of course, degrading into little bits, but still kind of like floating. And it's all the soft plastics that sink and break up more quickly into these microscopic bits that then get in our water and our fish, in the air, all these different places. So that's why, yes, the fishing gear is horrific, but it's more visual, so we can focus on it. Same as beach cleans. People focus on beach cleans because they see the plastic washing up on the beaches, but those aren't the plastics that we need to really worry about because they've lasted. They're durable in the environment. It's the soft plastics that break up really quickly into these microscopic bits that then we're ingesting that are really dangerous because those soft plastics are full of phthalates.
So a beach cleanup's kind of pointless?
No, we don't want to discourage people from doing beach cleanups.
I like a pretty clean
And
beach.
I love a clean beach, but I do think it's a little bit of greenwashing if we stop there.
Yeah.
Because we're focusing on the end of life of plastic instead of going to the source or going upstream and holding the producers responsible for all of this stuff that they're manufacturing.
That's a really good point. We need to plug it at the source. But how do you do that when these companies have so much money, and with money comes that power, and they dominate the industry? It's like the animal agriculture industry. It's like the fossil fuels industry. How do you stop these multinational companies that obviously don't seem to care that they're destroying the human race?
And who are these multinational companies that need to really pull their finger out?
Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. There's a list of 10 actually, because all of their trash that we're finding around the world has their name on it.
Aren't they multi-billion-dollar companies?
Yes. That's why they don't care. And that's why it's so difficult for governments to regulate them. So they come in, they've got their dollars, they're bringing business to different nations, and everybody wants that because they want the economy to flourish. So that's why, as annoying as it is, straw bans, like nobody cares about straws, but we have to ban those to create a precedent for us to build on to be able to ban more plastics. And as annoying, it's so hard to put a plastic ban in place because it's so ubiquitous and it's the cheapest material out there. So small businesses rely on the cheapest material to save money and to flourish as a business. But if we can ban the material, then at least there creates a market for alternatives. You know, vegan is like it's like not an easy choice to make, but it's like, oh yes, I will do it. I will make a personal sacrifice and I will eat vegetables because I care and I want to make a difference. Plastic, it's so hard to quit plastics because there's very little alternative. It's really hard to make that switch, and that's because plastic is the cheapest available material to package everything in.
Well, you seem to have been able to do it. So how can you pass on that knowledge to everyone else? Is it achievable? I don't know. You're making me feel like we're too far gone.
I think
Like
people
2048 is not far away.
I think people need to stop being so lazy. I get disgusted when I go into supermarkets and people are still using plastic bags.
I know.
It's so annoying.
But hang on.
Even in Bondi.
Aren't those green ones biodegradable?
Yeah, but
No.
This is the other
That's
but
what
they
they
say
say.
they're biodegradable.
But this is where there's no regulation of this stuff. Like, this is what's so frustrating in this movement is like, or just in life in general, is that there's all these things happening, but no one's regulating it. No one's enforcing it. Even like the National Plastics Plan that the Australian government has introduced, it's voluntary targets. So like Coca-Cola, Nestle, and Woolworths and Coles are all going to try to reduce their plastic use, but no one's enforcing it. They always make these promises, but no one checks to make sure they're actually doing it.
Oh, man. Well, and as we know, as we found talking to people on the show, the governments just really don't care. It's too little, too late every time. And if we rely on them, it's just never going to happen. So I see this as a really important step, you getting out there and informing people. And hopefully there's a lot more people like you, because we need to get this out there and find a way to make a change.
There really are. There's so many people that care about this. And that's like, I try to do this with humor and fun and playfulness because it can be such a heavy topic and it can be so frustrating and hard to figure out the solutions. Like, where do we even begin? So it's just, we should be empowered to just make these small choices and bring our own cup. And that's why why I do just stop and I walk out of a store if the plastic is the only option, and I abstain from the meal if plastic is the only option, because these little actions add up and they create a ripple effect and they normalize these behaviors. And also, it's like, yeah, it's the individual choices, but it's also the collective choices. Like, I do not think the world is going to be able to change through like one big sweeping action of like one campaign. It's small choices individuals make, as well as like collective action that we all do together. So supporting policy change against plastics, supporting, all the different campaigns that are attacking plastics, like supporting the organizations that are working on it, and then making individual changes ourselves.
And there are a lot of alternatives out there. There is really no excuse for people, business owners, restaurant owners, bar owners, shop owners, clothing owners. There's no excuse.
What are they? What are the alternatives?
So that is correct.
Because isn't plastic in most of our clothes as well?
Yeah, 70% of clothing made now has plastic in it.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Sorry, checking the text.
Can you repeat that?
70% of all clothing made now has plastic in it.
Jeez.
So we have to be checking all the tags of our clothing to make sure there's no nylon, elastane.
I do find though that plastic in clothing is a lot cheaper than clothing that doesn't have plastic in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is kind of hard to have a plastic-free wardrobe.
Yeah.
It is, because it's more expensive. And then you look at alternatives like merino wool. And vegans won't touch merino wool. So there are a lot of game changers out there, but there are roadblocks because of people's values and what they think is correct.
And the cost. That's the biggest one. That's why we need legislation to ban plastics, or at least like tax them for the environmental cost that their material is causing. Instead of subsidizing fossil fuel industry and subsidizing oil and subsidizing plastics, because that's what makes it so cheap, is these government subsidies. And then it's the most affordable in plastic, or it's the most affordable in clothing. It's the most affordable for restaurants, but it's not the only option. Like there's a lot of amazing innovation happening in textiles. There's like new new fabrics being
I
used,
love that.
like,
what are you wearing?
Tencel and lyocell and things that are coming from, and cotton, things that all have impacts. Like there's a lot of water used in cotton production, but it's not plastic. It's not going to break up and lead to infertility, So for restaurants, the best thing is cardboard. So using these actual materials that you can break down in your compost, sure. But why so much takeaway food? Like you look at a bin outside of a cafe, and the bin is entirely full. Like 90% of the trash in that bin is from the cafe that it's in front of. So why are people taking food to go and then just throwing it straight into the bin right there? Food to go where should only be if you're taking it away, far away from the cafe. People should be eating, sitting down, having things for here, and slowing down and enjoying their meal. They digest it better that way too.
Well, I think now cafes and businesses and restaurants are actually charging more for you to sit in their restaurants. I encountered that the other day at Bondi.
Really?
They charged me $5 extra just to sit inside and eat off a plate instead of getting takeaway.
No, that's because it was you.
Look, I just think we need to have a big billboard sweep around the world saying, use plastic, shrink your doodle. I think that'll be enough, to be honest.
Paul is amazing at coming up with campaign ideas. Just the other day, we were talking about the Daintree and why people shouldn't buy land in the Daintree rainforest.
It's the death forest.
Well, yeah, that's basically.
It's full of things that kill you.
Spiders.
Did you know that?
Right.
Four of the deadliest snakes in the world, a couple of the deadliest spiders in the world, the deadliest bird in the world,
lots of
crocodiles, leeches,
no,
ticks.
crocodiles are the worst.
Yeah, that's why you don't buy property in the Daintree. You just leave it alone and let it do its thing.
Put a fence around that Jurassic Park and leave it. But let's talk about clothing. Okay, what are the plastic sort of chemicals, or I don't know what to call them, like particles, the names on the tag? Like, what are the ones you want to avoid?
Okay, so polyester is a big one you want to avoid. Anything that has poly in it. So look at the back of your beauty products and bath products as well. A lot of these things aren't labeled.
It's stuck. That's not going to work. It says Australian grown cotton, large.
Ooh, nice.
Still got the plastic arm.
And leg.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
All right, moving in the right direction. Okay, so anything with poly.
Poly.
Yeah, poly is just like a pretty good, easy way to identify plastics in any product. So like I said, bath products, like your body washes. But So look at all the labels, look at all the ingredients always anyways, because we're checking for, anyways, look at labels. In clothing, polyester, nylon is a big one. Elastane is in a lot of...
Oh, no more jeggings? No more stretch jeans? Is that what that means?
You don't even wear jeans.
I do wear stretch jeans. Oh, when it's cold.
Not anymore.
Well, I do when it's cold. It's just not cold.
No.
Well, no, I'll just... What about denim? Is denim plastic?
No, denim is not. It was cotton. But they're making new denims out of tencel and like eucalyptus, different like plant fibers. So there's amazing technology and innovation coming up, but it's more expensive. So it's kind of like I look at this as like, if you have the resources, if you have the privilege to make these more environmental changes and choices, you absolutely should, so that we can start to create more of a market for these products and make them more affordable and more accessible for more people.
Or people just don't buy that many things.
Yeah.
Clothing wardrobes are ridiculous. I mean, holy moly, I've never had a huge wardrobe. And if I do buy something, it's usually on the more expensive mark. So then I don't need to buy other things. My wardrobe is tiny. I don't understand people that have 25,000 jackets and 17 pairs of shoes. I don't understand that. I have 3 pairs of shoes. I have 4 jackets. I have 2 coats. And I have a couple of T-shirts and shorts.
Oh, I can see that halo over your head right now.
No, but in all seriousness, it really makes me mad. And do you know what else makes me mad?
What's that?
Brands like Dior, Prada, Versace, Louis Vuitton, are they doing anything that's planet friendly? Are they making clothing that is good for the environment? And are they advertising that as well? Are they, Kate?
So it's actually exciting because a lot of it, you can't really make stuff anymore without having some sort of environmental campaign, whether it's like a kind of a greenwashy capsule collection made from recycled plastics, or like linen. Like so many brands have to put linen clothing out there, which is great. Most businesses and brands are offsetting their carbon emissions. So there's a lot of great stuff happening, but it's not enough. Like for these big brands that have like such reach and also could do so much for like normalizing using more natural materials, I don't think they're doing enough. But, arguably it's going to take time to get there, and it's hard to expect brands that have like a really loyal clientele to make all these changes overnight.
Well, if you look at American Express, they came out with the first recycled credit card. I think it was 2 years ago. And even that, it's a credit card, it's American Express, but it's the right message.
Yeah. Well,
what's it recycled from though? Plastic?
Yes, it's recycled
but it's
plastic.
It's still shrinking doodles.
That's correct, Paul.
So how do we get rid of the plastic that we already have accumulated?
Oh, this is the question.
Is it possible?
So only 9% of plastic ever created has been recycled. And that I think is a big, I don't think that's accurate. I think far less has been recycled.
Yeah, because the rest of it's in the ocean.
The rest of it's in the ocean and in landfill or incinerated, which incineration is such a fail. It's not a real solution. It burns all the plastic and then it creates this toxic ash that goes into the air and into our waterways. And that's even less able to be retrieved than plastic particles. So incineration is not an option, but that's what's really been rolled out all throughout Southeast Asia and even in Australia to solve this issue. Okay, but that is one solution.
We're all just going to die. And you're going to have baby divers. You're not even going to have baby divers.
No, because I'll be dead.
Yeah, infertile.
All right, so moving on from clothes, because I'm looking here for solutions to my and probably most people's current situation whereby I'm like, I don't know how to avoid that. Okay, so containers. I love a little squishy bottle for my body wash.
Yeah.
How do we move away from that?
Soap.
Bar of soap. I can do that. All right.
You can also reuse. You can repurpose those squeezy bottles because, I like a squeezy bottle at the in the kitchen sink, for dishes or whatever. It's just easier. So I just repurpose that plastic bottle. Yes, toxins, but I'm so minimally exposed that there are a few places where I repurpose plastic to serve a purpose.
Let's go through a few alternatives because I know you have so many and you've developed so many of your own products, which is really, really, really awesome, and everybody should go and check out Kate's website and buy some. But what would you suggest that people use for a face wash?
So I use oil. So I do the oil cleansing method. So I apply oil, and you can use any oils, like a kitchen oil, like a macadamia oil is really great because we have a lot of macadamias in Australia. You can use olive oil. You can use coconut oil. There's also really...
Don't they all come in plastic though?
No, you can buy the glass bottle.
Okay.
With a metal lid.
All right.
Yeah. And these are things that, like, another big environmental point, which is important to note in the plastic free zero waste movement, is buying locally is often the best solution, not only for creating less waste. You're going directly to the farmers markets and buying from the farmer. It's like there's no packaging. It's just like a piece of broccoli.
I love going to the farmers markets.
Isn't Woolies local? Well, Woolies seems to be everywhere I am, so isn't that local?
That's not a farmer's market.
What's the difference?
It's not a farmer's market.
What's the difference?
You can tell because it says imported. It tells you where all these fruits and vegetables are coming from.
And they're usually wrapped in plastics.
That's right.
Yeah.
And farmers markets are awesome because you get to support the locals.
I just find them a little more expensive though.
The farmers markets?
Yeah.
I think it's worth it if it's not wrapped in plastic and you're not ingesting plastic.
I guess that goes back to what you said, where if you can afford, if you're fortunate enough, it makes it a little easier.
No.
But there are still ways that everyone can participate in this.
Sorry, I don't agree with that. The farmers markets aren't as expensive as your local grocery store. If you go shopping in Woolworths Bondi, I think they knock up the price by quite a bit.
Yeah, but that's because it's Bondi.
I know, but anyway,
It's true.
I think that farmers markets aren't that much more expensive. I used to think that, and then I went looking. And if you go for a bit of a drive and you find somewhere out west, or if you go even if you go to Mullumbimby,
Where?
in Byron, okay, say you live in Byron Bay.
Isn't that where Izzy Azalea is from? How do you say her name? Is it Iggy Azalea? So that's where she's from, Mullumbimby. Sorry, I digress. Back to plastics.
No, but she probably shops at Mullumbimby markets.
I don't know, I think she lives in America, but sure.
My point is that people should step outside and go to the farmers markets because there is a lot of delicious, fresh, unplastic wrapped produce there, and it's not that expensive. It's not in comparison to a supermarket. Would you not agree?
I agree completely. Like, I'm not spending exorbitant amounts. Exorbitant.
Just start that sentence again.
Yeah, we're all having problems with our tongues today. It's probably the plastics.
It's definitely our mouths.
My tongue is shrinking with my testicles.
I'm inhaling so many.
I'm becoming infertile right now.
Yeah.
It's really stressful.
All right, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to test this out. I'm not saying I doubt you. I like to question and find out the truth. And so I'm going to go to the farmers market and check this out. And even when I get home back to LA, there's a local market just out the front of me, so I'll give it a crack.
Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah, because you don't spend more money living plastic free. It's actually minimalistic. It's simplifying things. So you might spend a little bit more up front, but then it evens out. You're not going shopping as many times. So getting some of the oats in bulk delivered to my house in this big paper bag, I'm spending a bit more up front. I might spend like $100 to get a huge giant thing of oats that lasts me 2 or 3 years. So it's just looking at things differently. It's like, are you okay?
2 or 3 years? That's a big bag.
She sleeps in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just live
Oat
in
baths.
there.
Next to a garbage bin.
Yeah.
I'm actually Oscar the Grouch and live in there.
This makes total sense.
Multi-purpose.
That's why I come with all these negative vibes.
Look, I don't even care. I don't care about any of it. All I care about is I don't want these plastics in my body. I don't want my baby divers to die. I don't want to have a small penis or like the anal ball thing you said that's shrinking. I don't want any of that. I just want my baby divers to live. I want to have my penis and...
I'm so glad this is motivating. I've been waiting for the thing that was motivating enough for people to make change.
Oh, did you see the movie, The Game Changers? Everyone that watched it was more inclined to change when they saw the penis bit about how being plant-based actually makes your wee-wee thicker.
Your genitals.
Yeah, seriously. They skipped over most of it and just went, I'm changing because it makes my penis thicker. So you are applying it to the man population right now because, we're very sensitive about our private parts. It's not even just about us. Like if you watch a documentary about animals, you now see that all of these animals are dying with plastic in their stomach.
I know.
So I've seen footage of birds and they see the little colourful pieces of plastic. They pick it up thinking it's food and they go and feed it to their babies, and the babies die and their guts are full of plastic. There was a whale that washed up in the UK like a day or two ago and they found plastic in its stomach. So we're not just killing ourselves and making ourselves sick. We're actually killing all of the environment. Like I don't even understand. I went and saw manta rays the other week for the first time, and like basking sharks, like whale sharks, like sperm, they all swim around with their mouths open, just sucking in everything. And so we're killing all of these magical animals on our planet. Well, these companies that you're talking about are destroying life on this planet. How are they not being held accountable for this?
That's a really good question. And there's a lot of organizations that are trying to tackle that. And there's Break Free from Plastic. It's a movement. It's actually an alliance of organizations that have teamed up to target these corporations specifically. And this is they actually have an act in Congress in the US right now called the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act 2021. And that is meant to ban plastics, but also start to hold these corporations accountable. It's really difficult to get governments to agree to holding the corporations specifically accountable. And that's why all these kind of like annoying, frustrating bans on specific plastics feel like bullshit, but are important because it's kind of the best we can do right now because the corporations are so influential and powerful.
Do they just fight back and say, hey, well, we don't make them buy our product? So it's actually on the consumer.
Yeah, they always, environmental stuff always comes back to blame the individual. That's like the whole Keep America Beautiful thing. That's why recycling was invented in the first place. So basically they started bringing out all this plastic in like the 40s, being like, oh, because we were at war and a lot of like men went off to war and women were at home raising, such a generalization, but to keep it simple, women were at home raising the families. They had to enter the workforce as well, and they had to make the food and clean the house. And so they brought out TV dinners and disposable plates and cutlery, and it just made it so much easier because you could just put the food out there and then wipe it all into the trash can and you were done. But the trash can filled up quicker. So the plastics industry, very creative, was like, okay, what are we going to do? Make another bin. So it takes twice as long to fill up. So they created recycling. They were like, we take care of it for you. We recycle this back into more products. But it was bullshit.
So it wasn't even about recycling. It was just about making more plastic bins.
Of course.
Oh my God.
Just making a bin to put all that plastic in. But you think about it, it's so messy. You put all these different resources or materials into this bin. They're full of yogurt and like soda and greasy food. It's like these are materials that then have to be sorted out and cleaned, and it's not actually being recycled into something of equal value. It's being downcycled into something of lesser value. That's why most recycled plastics has to also have a component of virgin plastic, because recycled plastic itself isn't durable enough. It's weak. It's corrupted by all the dyes and glues from the
they're the
labels
Tupperware containers that keep breaking in my bag.
It's tricky.
Are we too far gone?
Can you stop making me laugh? Because it's
I
killing me.
am not
I
even
can't even
doing
talk.
anything.
I can't even talk.
You're doing just fine.
I can't. We interviewed Simon Hill the other day, and I think for about 20 minutes I couldn't breathe or talk. Don't even talk about why. Kate, if you see someone walking down the street and they're carrying a plastic bag, what do you want to say to them?
I would like to say to them, could you not bring your own bag? Or could you, if you forget your own bag, could you use one of the cardboard boxes at the supermarket to take your groceries instead? Do you realize that that plastic bag is probably going to choke a turtle or a whale and then break up into tiny microscopic pieces and enter your water and pollute your body and create infertility?
I love it how they banned plastic straws to save a turtle. And yet we've got all of these other plastics that have just been totally looked over, that cause way more problems. Like even the sea animals that get caught up in the packing tape or the 6-pack beer can things. I've seen animals with those wrapped around their necks. Sharks that have basically been cut in half because they've swum through a loop of plastic that they just can't get out of. This is really bad.
Yeah.
And it makes me afraid that these big companies that create all this plastic aren't going to change. So what do we have to do as citizens of the earth to make this change?
Well, you made a really good point. It's because plastic is so diverse in the applications. It's plastic bags, it's plastic straws, it's plastic packaging tape, it's plastic rings, it's so ubiquitous in its applications. It's infiltrated all these different industries, and that's why choosing natural materials, no matter what they are so important. If we're individual consumers buying clothing, or we have a business and we have the option to spend a bit more to create natural packaging or invest in some of these plant-based materials. Even though bioplastics take still around 100 to 200 years to break down in the environment, so they could still pose threat to marine creatures, and we don't know the effects of the toxins and the things that are in the bioplastics on human life or other people or other creatures. We don't know the effects. We haven't done the science yet, but it's better than petroleum based. So I urge people to support the legislation banning plastics, any sort of legislation that is targeting petroleum-based materials.
So does that mean signing surveys and things like that?
It does. It seems like such a small action, like is it really mattering? But it does. It adds up, and it just creates this people power, and it gives these organizations that have been like tirelessly working on this legislation, this policy change that seems to be the only way to really hold corporations or governments or businesses accountable to the materials they put out into the world is with a ban. And we have banned plastic bags in many places, but then the companies come out with thicker reusable plastic bags. So that's why policy change can be frustrating, but we still need to continue to support it. So the collective action, support the policy change, the individual action, always opt for natural, reusable. Bring your own containers, bring your own cup, bring your own bottle, bring your own Tupperware. Try to take these responsibilities on to ourselves as much as possible, so that we also lead by example and create a ripple effect for our community.
Where can the community and businesses find these natural resources instead of using plastic straws, plastic cups, things like that? Is there a website in Australia? Is there a company in Australia or a global company, or, somebody who's offering an alternative that makes it easy for big businesses and big corporations to make that switch from plastic to more renewable?
Really good question. It's really difficult because there's so much greenwashing. So it's hard for companies to, they think they're doing the right thing by going with bioplastic, and to find out that it's not the best alternative, because we don't have these commercial composting facilities for these things to be sent to actually break down. So it's difficult. I'd suggest, let me try and think. There's a company, Boomerang Alliance is an organization that's based in Sydney, and they have an incredible amount of resources. They have a program called Plastic Free Places, which helps individual towns, because it always comes back to the local ecosystem, what's happening in the local, what's available locally, instead of trying to ship in all this stuff from all over the world. What can we get access to locally? And then trying to support local businesses to come up with these solutions together, because usually you need to create kind of a coalition of other businesses that want to make more responsible environmental choices, and then band together so that you can make it more cost effective to order the bulk of these compostable paper cups or paper lids or paper trays for sandwiches and those sorts of things.
And you've written a book recently. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Because if there's people out there who would like to change their lifestyle gently, slowly, or are interested in being a better person for the environment and reducing their plastic consumption, I really advise that everybody gets their hands on this book, because it's pretty awesome. It's called I Quit Plastics. It's about my journey. There's a bit of philosophy and how to set an ethical boundary against something, in my case plastics, and how to hold that boundary. So coming into our sovereignty and just feeling really good about making a decision for the environment, for the earth, and for ourselves. And then it just gives you strategies on how to reduce your own plastic use. It's really not that difficult. It might seem overwhelming because of how common plastic is, but I give you lots of recipes for how to make different things at home, like bath products like toothpaste and deodorant, beauty products even. I make my own bronzers and sunscreens. Cleaning products are super easy. That's a really good one to replace in home. Tell us about it. Why are you looking so confused?
Cleaning products. How do you replace a cleaning product?
So cleaning products are actually quite toxic. Most of the ones that are in plastic bottles, because they don't have to list their ingredients, and I know, and they're actually one of the most toxic things that we have in our homes, and there's all sorts of diseases resulting from these toxic products that we have in our homes. Anyways, all you have to use is vinegar or bicarb, sodium bicarbonate. Those things clean the house and laundry. They do a great job.
Stop it.
And they're super cheap.
Wow.
Do you mix them all together? Or?
Yeah. That
use
would
them
create
separately.
the explosion. But
So yes,
Well, I'm glad I asked that question because I would mix them all together.
we're
Separate.
definitely mixing them together.
Let's go home now.
After this, we're going to get our paper bags and we're going to get bicarb and some vinegar in bulk. I'm going to put it in some sort of very small container, like the Mentos in the Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's shake it up.
Well, jeez.
it's going to be hilarious.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I went onto your Instagram and I was looking on your link tree. And you have a lot of resources and a lot of information on there as well. So I would encourage people to go and check that out. Everything from filling out an eco habits survey, which I'm assuming that's kind of like going through the things that you do that aren't great and finding ways to replace them with other things.
Yeah, take an audit of the trash you use. Like, just that's the best way to start. That's where you should start. Is you look at your trash can, dump it out, and see all the plastic that you use, and then you can target those specific items.
Got it.
Plant milk. Okay, can I make my own? Like whatever snack you eat, can I make that? You know, just targeting those specific items.
Yeah, even from the piece of banana bread that I bought you earlier today. It was wrapped in cling wrap.
Ooh,
Well, you just thanks for making me infertile.
I'm sorry. It's my fault. But then also you've got
Paul's like, let's go for a champagne breakfast. Here's something for your infertility. Get it kick-started just before Kate comes in. Thanks, Paul. Love ya.
My bad. I'm more knowledgeable now, and like thanks for coming in and like illuminating us all. You've got heaps of stuff on there. Ban plastics in the USA. Wooden sunnies.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have thought of it. Plastic sunnies. You're wearing them on your head all the time in the heat, so that plastic is leaching into your brain. What about condoms? Is that why
Yeah, let's talk about
penises are shrinking?
Let's talk about condoms.
Are we going to have to go back to like sheepskin condoms?
Ooh, we might. No, there's natural latex, natural rubber.
And what about
It's-
periods, that time of the month? We go through so much plastic.
Really?
And
In
what
what
about
way? I have a different sort of Shark Week, so I'm not sure how you guys. What's the plastic there?
tampons?
Are they
pads?
plastic? I thought they were
Yes.
like wool or something
Yes.
absorbent.
What's the alternative for that?
So you can use a moon cup. So that's a silicone cup that you insert inside of you. It pops open and it collects the blood, and then you take it out and you dump it.
Is it made of plastic?
Silicone.
Silicone. Silicone's not plastic.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
But we don't know. Scientists are. I've asked my scientist friends. I'm like, do you use silicone? And they're like, no. So they just are studying toxicity and like how it's affecting our bodies, so they don't use it. I use a moon cup. There's also period undies. So these are undies that have a built-in pad that you can wash and reuse.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of...
This is way outside my wheelhouse.
You can just switch off for a second. I think that's a bit... I just...
Mm-hmm.
The whole reusable washing. I mean, you would have to wash them individually. You couldn't just throw them in with like your wine.
Vinegar and
Yeah,
bicarbonate soda
Everything explosion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bloody
together in the
explosion.
washing machine.
that's disgusting.
So excited to hear about how you experiment with these.
Yeah.
But no, you wash everything that you wash by hand lasts longer anyways. So yeah, I wash most of my things because a lot of these things have like underwear, swimwear. These things have stretch, so they have elastane. So I wash these by hand to trap those synthetic microfibers anyways. To
Yeah.
prevent them from entering the waterways, because that's one of the biggest polluters in our individual lives.
Like washing machines.
is our laundry. Yeah.
Because of all the
many-
plastics in the clothes and then the chemicals that are in the detergents. We are really just making our whole lives toxic.
Well, I
Yeah.
think, as long as we try
But we-
and make little changes here and there and not get overwhelmed by the whole facade, because it's massive.
Yeah, it really is quite overwhelming. We've been lied to. That's what I hate the most. I hate being lied to and deceived by these companies just so they can make money.
Yeah.
And they don't care. They're destroying people, shrinking doodles, killing
Right.
animals. Like it's not cool.
This
I
is
feel
why-
like people need to stand up and be encouraged to do all the things you're talking about just to slap the face of these companies that have been lying to us our whole lives.
This is why it's important to shop at farmers markets and to support the beautiful people that are growing food and go to those beautiful humans instead of just because it's cheaper supporting all these multinational corporations who are lying to us. So always shopping local, always supporting the local designer or the local manufacturer, which is like hard. So we have to do a little bit of research. Like if you feel frustrated by the science, by this information, then take it upon yourself to do a little bit more research and figure out where are the local producers of soap, or where are the local producers of like, you know, clothing, who's like someone locally that's like making cute things from Byron Bay or whatever, and support these local people instead of these gigantic corporations that can get away with all this pollution.
All this stuff just must make you so mad.
It does. It makes me really mad.
Not you, Kate.
Oh, yeah, Kate. Sure. Yeah, you too, Catherine. Yeah, because you put so much work into it.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, especially when they make announcements like they're going to triple the production in the next, you know, by 2050. Again, another number up there.
Making me so mad right now.
Well, guys, we're going to have to wrap on that today.
We've
Do
got
you feel
Catherine's got to get out there and save the world some more.
I don't have to go.
You're a
tackle those
superhero,
people.
Catherine.
I don't know. I mean, do we feel hopeful?
Yeah.
Do you feel hopeful? Paul?
I'm hopeful for my baby divers because now I have the information to make the change, and that's all that really matters. You get the information, you implement the information, and you make the change for your benefit, your family's benefit, the world's benefit. Where's the drawback? It takes a little more effort. You got to have a recyclable, like a cloth bag or some boxes, or you check the label on your clothes, and you buy in bulk. Like I eat like a horse, so I don't mind buying in bulk.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done. I'm sold.
I'm not sure if I'm hopeful. And I know that's a little bit cynical, but I've been to some of the most deserted beaches in the world. I was recently in Gabon in West Africa, which is a country on the west coast where the forest meets the sea. And it's a place where leatherback turtles return to nest every single year. And the beach, you'd think that these places would be pristine. I have never in my life seen so much trash, and it was all coming from Angola, washing down, and I felt like, how could we possibly get rid of this much plastic? What can be made out of plastic that can reduce its, you know, inhabitants on our earth?
Yeah. Seaweed.
It can be made into seaweed?
No, the alternatives to plastic.
Oh.
Seaweed is an amazing alternative
Seaweed,
to plastic.
hemp?
Yeah, there's a lot of technology and innovation in this space because there's been this plastic awakening. Finally, people have woken to the fact that, yeah, it's a problem and we need to address it. So there's a lot of science that's like negative and scary, but then there's a lot of innovation that's like exciting and inspiring and should give us hope. And those are the people that we need to support. So when we see these alternative materials, support them if we can, if we have the resources, so that we can make it more accessible for others.
Yeah, just because other countries aren't doing it doesn't mean we shouldn't make the change.
And it's not countries either. It's all that trash coming down from Angola is the corporations. It's Coca-Cola. It's Nestle.
That's exactly what it was. We were on the beaches of Gabon looking at plastic bottles with Coca-Cola and Nestle written all over them. And what Gabon has done is created bricks out of plastic and they're making eco-lodges, which is incredible. But still, trashing beaches where leatherback turtles want to lay their eggs and hippos surf in the waves. You know, it's really, really sad.
And they shouldn't have to live in plastic houses.
No.
They should be able to live in natural materials or whatever that like is their preferred building material. They shouldn't have to come up with like, okay, what are we going to do with all this plastic? I guess we'll put it into our houses and breathe it in.
What's your idea, Paul?
We shoot it into the sun.
What? Sorry?
Shoot it into the sun.
What?
No.
Shoot plastic into the sun?
Yeah.
Then it's wait, it has to get past the ozone layer, but it will burn as it goes through the ozone layer.
Exactly.
And then it will heat up the planet even more.
Okay. I'm not saying it was a good idea. I'm just saying it was an idea.
We put it in a rocket and then shoot it into the sun because then it will bypass.
That's what I meant. You can't just shoot plastic into space.
That's what you
said. It's got to be in a rocket.
Yeah, but that's what you said, Paul. I
You know
imagine
what
like a big slingshot. No. But listen, guys, we do have to wrap things up now. So, Kate, thank you so much for coming in. Everyone, Plastic Free Mermaid on Instagram. Please follow her. She has a very lighthearted way at looking at the plastic swamp.
The epidemic
of plastic earth that we live in. And, you know, even when you're looking at her posts, you will feel her frustration and it will inspire you to be a better person and stop using plastic where you can.
Yep, and get onto the Linktree and have a look at some of her courses. You can buy her moon cups and her period undies for Shark Week, crystal mermaid packs and online mermaid retreats, and there's so much stuff there to look through. I couldn't believe how much stuff you've got. It's amazing.
And her book.
Her book, I Quit Plastic. Yep, definitely going to look into that.
It's been super awesome to be here, and yeah, it gets a bit heavy, but definitely I'm a very solution oriented person.
You
I
are.
like to keep it fun and playful and light, and I encourage everyone to try and foster and create that inspiration and figure out what your why is, why you care about this, and then really tune into that so that we have that sustained energy to make these changes.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
My pleasure. Thanks, you guys.
I got you again.
I love how we're talking about